The heroes of the Avengers are divided as the consequences of their actions catch up to them. They resolve their issues the only way they know how, with laser blasts and punches to the face.
Welcome to the Walt Vault with
Michelle,
Andre, Louise,
and me, Emily. We're a family-friendly podcast where we pick a new Disney movie each week. We watch it, share our thoughts, and then relate it to pop culture, fandoms, and anything else that pops into our heads. Enjoy!
Hello and welcome to the Walt Vault, episode 104.
Wow, we're so old.
Yes, we're old. We've been doing this for over 100 episodes. Thank you for sticking along with us. We are deep into our Summer of Heroes.
Yes.
And this week we are talking about the 2016 live-action Marvel film Captain America: Civil War.
Gotta get that
You know what's
colon.
funny about that is when you say 2016, it doesn't sound that long ago, but then when you think about it, it's like a good college amount of time away.
It's true because this
High school away.
this might be one of the first Marvel movies we saw together. Because if we started dating in fall of 2015, maybe not, but it could have been.
Yeah, that's quite possible. There might have been one or two in there ahead of us.
Something. We don't know.
Exactly.
Andre's like, I definitely saw a Marvel movie before this one when we were dating.
No, I mean like together.
Right. Yeah, it's hard. They all blend together.
It's hard. They blend together. I know for sure what Star Wars movie we saw first together, but I don't know, man. I don't know. There's too many Marvel movies.
I don't know, man.
I don't know.
All right, well, let's
I remember
talk.
when this movie came out, I remember like listening to other podcasts and people talking about it and then being like, oh my God. And me being like, nah, it can't possibly be that crazy. And then I watched it and was like, all right.
It's literally a bunch of babies fighting, and that's why I love it. I love it so much.
It's funny
Okay,
that you say that because this time around watching it, I didn't get that impression as much. Like, there was some really cool moments and then there was some like really sad moments, but there wasn't as much of a pissing contest as some of the other movies.
Right.
it's still
But
a
for some
pissing
reason,
contest.
the first time around, I felt very like, I don't know. I guess it's because we know where it goes from here.
You know who I think is the biggest pisser in the pissing contest is Iron Man, and we'll get into that. This movie, just every time I see it, I just want to punch him in his throat. It is what it is. So I guess I'll go with my first impression first. I think last week I was like, yeah, this is one of the best Avengers movies. It's not an Avengers movie. It's a Captain America movie, and I always forget that because they're all in it, right? Like, they're all in it, so it feels like an Avengers movie. It's up there on the list of Marvel movies. Like, it is a good one, and upon this viewing, I was remembering that this one has some of the best fight scenes, like, hands down to me. Some of the best, most fun fight scenes. It still holds up. I still really like it. I'll watch it again in like another year. Yeah. Emily.
First impression this time versus, okay, so I want to say I've only seen it maybe like 3 times because I remember seeing it in the theaters and being like, and then and being like, what just happened? And then seeing it a second time and not loving it, but the whole not the trilogy, but the whole like story hadn't wrapped up yet, so I didn't really know how everything was gonna play out. This time around, I liked it the most, and I think it's because I have the best understanding of the whole universe now. So all of like the different pieces coming in made the most sense this time. So it's like, oh yeah, like that's why they did this, and this is who they're talking about, and this is the backstory and all that kind of stuff. Because you really have to know what they're talking about to get this movie. I mean, you could like watch it and just like the fighting and stuff, but there's a lot of context.
But you couldn't really it would almost seem stupid to you. The best example of this is my mom. She just wanted to hop in and watch Endgame when we went to the theater with my father, and we basically disinvited her. We were like, no, you're not going. I'm not trying to explain everything to you the whole time.
Yeah.
You're not gonna understand it. And
Sounds like 3 hours of questions.
yeah, and I agree. Like Civil War is
I'm trying
totally
to
like
pay
that.
attention.
Like, why is who mad at who? Wait, he killed whose father? Like, if you just came into this movie, like, if you like had a boyfriend and he was like, let's go see Civil War, like, you'd be screwed. Like, it wouldn't work.
Yeah. I mean, we'd all be screwed if we had boyfriends that wanted to go see Civil War. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Sounds kind of good to me. But
we have husbands that like Civil War. It's a difference.
Luis said today we're going to be talking about the Civil War. So, okay, I know. Fantastic.
It was 1864.
Okay.
And
sounds like something Luis would do. Okay, Andre, first impression.
Oh
yes.
yeah, my first impression was it was good. That was this
That's
time
That's
around,
what I took
liked
from
it.
that. It sounded like you enjoyed it this time. And you had even texted us like, guys, like in all caps. And I was like, oh, I think she liked it this time. So I was like pretty happy.
I
There were
mean,
some
yeah.
good funnies.
This one is really hard to dislike. Honestly, it's fantastic. It's kind of a masterfully done movie, especially for what it is. This one was directed by the Anthony and Joe Russo, the Russo brothers, who previously did Captain America: The Winter Soldier, along with Marcus and McFeely, who are the writers. So they're the Infinity War guys, they're the Endgame guys, and this is kind of like their major stepping point in between a Captain America movie and an Avengers movie, and
that's why it's so confusing.
Where they're able to bring in not only all of the other Avengers, but like all of this drama and intrigue and real world consequences for the actions of these fictional heroes, and it's awesome. They do a really good job of conveying all this convoluted stuff to a general audience.
Characters that you don't even know yet.
That's true.
I think that's my favorite part of this whole movie.
A couple of
they set it up that you like are very interested in them. And so that's where I can attest for this movie too, because going into like what's that DC one we saw, and I was like so disconnected to every character.
Are you talking about Justice League or Batman v Superman?
I think it was Justice League, where I was like, they're introducing all these characters, but I don't care. Like this one introduced characters and I cared. You know what I mean? Like Black Panther, Spider-Man. So
yeah, there's some good introductions. Actually, all of the introductions are pretty fabulous in different ways for different reasons.
Right.
I like it.
Yeah. So you liked it?
Yes. 3 or 4 thumbs up. I don't know how many thumbs I got. 3 or
4 thumbs up.
But I got a bunch of them.
If you have 4 thumbs, we have a problem here. How about 2 thumbs and 2 big toes?
2 big toes up?
Yes, 4 thumbs. He's taking...
Luis, first impression.
I've never seen your toes, but Michelle's called them alligators before, so I don't want to see them.
They're alligators. You don't... Oh, no.
Why?
Nobody likes toes.
Luis, what's your first impression?
Better keep your toes out of the screen.
Yeah, nasty.
I liked it a lot. It was fun.
It was fun.
It is kind of fun, even though it's like a serious concept of a movie, right? They still kind of make it fun.
Yeah, they have fun stuff.
It was good to have a movie like that because, like, not that it was all fun and games and all, happy-go-lucky, but it was all pretty much happy-go-lucky up until that point. And
right.
Then this movie comes around and completely makes Marvel into kind of a little bit of a dark. You saw Marvel Studios' dark side with this movie, you know?
Yeah. I agree with that. You're right. And at first I was like, Civil War? Why is this called Civil War? Like, are we going back in time to the Civil War with Captain America? Because it's Captain America movie, right?
God, we're not.
That is not what happened.
Can you imagine?
But that's like kind of what I thought at first.
You can't have any slaves, and he throws the shield.
I'm down for it. Why not? Why not? Anyways, that's not what it was about. At the core of this movie, there's one culprit who's tearing everybody apart, and it's Bucky.
No.
Yes.
It's Baron Zemo.
It's Bucky.
Helmut Zemo.
It's Bucky.
How dare you? What is wrong with you?
Because Bucky, every time
I need to just clear the air now.
Here we go.
Uh-oh. Does she like Bucky?
What have I said in the past?
You don't like Bucky. He sucks.
Yes.
He's the worst. That's about it.
Okay.
Everything negative.
But you like Winter Soldier, but you don't like Bucky.
I'm gonna throw it out there. I don't dislike Bucky.
You don't dislike
I'm not
Bucky.
saying I like him, but I don't dislike him.
Okay.
You know who I dislike?
Who?
Captain Stupid America.
What?
He's the problem.
What's wrong with you? Upon the viewing of this movie, I was reminded about why I love Captain America so much.
He's the problem.
I 110% disagree.
Is Civil War. He's the captain.
If you want to go back to hating Bucky, just go back and hate Bucky. Don't hate on Captain. I literally at the end of this movie was like, babe, I flip-flop between who my favorite superhero is all the time, and I always go back to Captain America, and after watching this movie, I was like, it's Captain America again. I just love this dude.
No. At least in this movie, I feel so betrayed by him.
Interesting.
I do. I feel so betrayed by him. I feel like
I feel like Iron Man.
I don't think it might be because I like Iron Man, but I think it's because he would every single time take Bucky over the rest of the Avengers.
Yeah.
He's a loyalist. Yeah, he's a loyal dude.
But just to Bucky? What about everybody else?
Yeah, he's only loyal to Bucky. Like what?
That's not true.
The rest of the Avengers didn't save him from getting beaten up by bullies.
America.
You know?
What?
Bucky saved him from getting beat up by bullies when he was a little kid, so he owes him. You know?
Yeah,
What's Tony done?
But Bucky didn't do anything wrong. That's why Captain wanted to save him.
Well, he's technically done some wrong things.
It wasn't his fault.
There we go. That's the conflict.
He's a super assassin. I think he can take care of his damn self.
Yeah, well, that is true.
Believe that if you want. But Bucky don't need no Cap. Every time Cap needs Bucky, and it's just showing it time and time again, the Cap has
Think about it this way, Emily. The love of his life just died.
No. The love of his life is Bucky.
Well, that's not true.
Yeah,
the love of his life just died, and all he has left is Bucky. That's all he has left of his past. So that's why he's so invested in it.
Is Peggy or Bucky?
If Peggy were there, he would drop the ball for Bucky in a split second. He don't care about nobody but him.
I don't believe that.
I think that Captain America, Steve Rogers, he really has these deep emotional ties back to the 1945 world that he left behind in the ice or whatever.
Which wasn't that long ago in his mind.
Right, but everything else around him has changed. And so Peggy, you're right, has died in this movie, and now all he has left
is Bucky.
From that time is Bucky, a person who was loyal to him and helped him out, and he needed him.
And who at this point he thought was kind of dead, maybe dead, so.
He thought he was lost to him.
Yeah.
But now there's a time for redemption.
And I'm down with redemption, but when you have a support network who literally is helping you save the universe,
you're
just gonna let them be like, oh no, you guys got this, bye. Oh yeah, and he killed your mama. Oh yeah, he killed your daddy. It's cool. No big deal.
It's not good. Brainwashing, dog.
It's just a lot. It's just a lot going on in this movie. Okay, and something fun before we get into the plot is I want us on the count of 3 to either say yes or no. Would you have signed the Sokovia Accords if you were a superhero? Oh, well, I said on the count of 3. I said on the count of 3. Okay, ready?
Okay, go ahead.
1, 2, 3. No.
Yes.
You both would have signed? Oh, this is cool.
We both said no. Oh, this is fun. Should we do a battle?
You're asking Luis if he's going to follow the rules.
That's true.
That's what you literally just asked Luis.
Yeah,
Luis, are you going to follow the rules?
That's fair. That is fair.
Okay, let's do a battle about it. Go.
Okay. Dun 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 Sokovia political battle.
Beautiful.
Okay, so the way I would say the reason I'm saying no, I wouldn't have signed it this is just because it's a classic comic book setup. Anytime somebody tries to control a person of power because they're afraid of them, it goes bad. And they were trying to throw New York on them. Look what you did in New York. Really? You were real happy when we did that in New York, and now you're trying to throw it in our faces? And have they done a lot of bad stuff? Yes. And do they kind of need to be put in check? Yes. But the whole world would have died if they didn't do the Sokovia thing. So, pick and choose your battles. If you don't want them to do anything at all, you'd all be dead. So no, I don't think I would sign it.
The Sokovia Accords are very complicated, and they're definitely drafted in an attempt to stop all the destruction that the Avengers and the surrounding villains that they stop,
but also stop the good
cause. Right, but I mean, the problem is that from the public's view, this is how it happened. The aliens invaded and the Avengers stopped it, and this many people died and this much destruction was caused, rather than aliens were going to invade, and if the Avengers weren't here, we all would have been dead. Like those are the two different kind of mindsets.
Sure.
But the public and the UN is definitely on the side of this is what has been done and this is what needs to be rectified. So from that point of view, I mean, they should be put in check. But
they should be put in check, but I don't think through the Sokovia Accords. Like,
well, how are you going to put a whole bunch of power people in check?
Right.
Everyone of power needs to be put in check. There's got to be some kind of checks and balances. But basically them signing that was like, you can't do anything unless we say so, which I was like, no.
Yes. So my thing about signing the Sokovia Accords or not is, had they all signed the Sokovia Accords at the 25-minute mark into this movie or whatever, they all sign, everything within this movie happens, and maybe Zemo's plan doesn't go as planned, and he doesn't actually split up the Avengers or whatever. But Thanos shows up in like a year and a half, and if the UN is like, what, we have to sign up a whole bunch of paperwork before you guys can go fight Thanos, and then he snaps his fingers and then half of everybody's dead, and then they can't enact their plan to go get everybody back. I mean, from a forward-looking setting, if they abide by the Sokovia Accords, the universe is dead. So no, I ain't signing that stuff.
I agree. Okay, now your guys' side.
Yeah, but you're looking at it from a point of you asked would I sign it. You didn't ask me if Emily Superwoman would sign it.
I said if you were a superhero, would you sign it?
Yeah, I still think I would, because I feel like the number one thing that people get mad about in general is not being held accountable.
Right.
And when you're in a job, or when you are, I don't know, having police brutality. I mean, it happens everywhere. If there's something going wrong and normal people don't think that things are happening fast enough, that's when they get angry. And that's when things start really going sideways, because they feel like they're not seeing what they think should be done. But if you're thinking about people who are dealing with aliens, they're not going to get stuff done. And like normal people don't see what they're doing in space, right?
Yeah.
But I would want to know that I'm being protected from all of the destruction they're doing, because they're just throwing each other around and just willy-nilly killing people. Hulk,
Yeah.
Thor doesn't even live here, and he's just coming up in here and accidentally killing people all the time.
Yeah, it's true. You're not wrong. They do that.
So, I mean, if it were me, I would say yes. I would be very afraid that something I could do would slip up and kill somebody. So maybe we should have some more, like, red tape, I guess.
More safeguards.
More safeguards. That's better, because
which I agree with.
Paperwork sucks, but here's the honest opinion. I feel like they could have had a more constructive conversation. If it comes to aliens, we do what we want.
Right, yeah.
And that's why it was like
domestic,
there was like no discussion about it in this movie. Like, the Secretary of State showed up and he was like, here's these accords, we're ratifying them in 3 days. Like, there was no discussion, they had no say in it, like anything like that. And that's what made me be like, no, I would not sign those. I had no say in this. well, like, I haven't had time to
Well,
read
that's why
through
you
this.
go and
Like,
you talk at the UN and help ratify them. I mean, that's the say. I mean, I
Yeah.
realize it's not like a fantastic like amount of time to do it, but
yeah, I kind of felt like Black Panther a little bit. Kind of felt like Black Panther a little bit, where he was like, yeah, we should sign them. I don't really like the politics of it, but then once his dad dies, he was like, yeah, no controlling me. Like that would kind of be me, right? Like in the middle, he's like, we can control you guys, but Black Panther, no, I'm from Wakanda. Like, I'm gonna do my own thing, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I kind of
All right, Lou.
relate to him a little bit. Yeah, Luis, what's your reasoning?
You like the cat suit.
I like the safeguard argument, definitely. As far as like the argument of, aliens invade, what now, we gotta wait for paperwork. I'm gonna be the fastest man on earth. I'm gonna get everybody to sign, problem solved, bureaucracy in a nutshell. So,
Luis would be a speedster, because he has a choice.
He's like,
that's why
thank you.
I'd be okay with it. Plus, try to catch me.
Try to.
I feel like that's the thing, is that there comes a point where, like, if something is a big enough threat, you're gonna go and do it anyways, right? Like, I know this, like, for example, you have a good cop and he sees something happening over there and he doesn't have jurisdiction over there. He's still gonna go and fix it, hopefully, right? Because something's going wrong, even though it's not his area. And he might have to deal with it later, but, like, it's better to have fixed it and ask, what is it?
And he's going to be considered a vigilante.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
at that point.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what Captain America's point is that by signing the thing, he becomes an employee rather than Captain America, And,
yeah, I don't really think he wants to go back to doing other people's biddings again.
Right, because oftentimes, as he says, these people have agendas and agendas change, and if he is being controlled by an outside source, then he can't make the decision that he needs to make to be able to do or do not do the right thing or whatever.
Toyota.
Yeah. Do or do not.
There is no try.
Do the right thing.
Well, that was a good battle, y'all. Good discussion.
Accords.
Battle. Accords.
Accords.
Yeah,
so that's the main conflict in this movie that really sets up the Avengers against one another.
And Wanda kind of set it off where she was trying to save Cap, right? And she didn't do it on purpose, but she ended up killing some people. It wasn't on purpose, but I mean, that was kind of the last spark. That was kind of the last straw.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's another thing that I
felt
think,
so bad for her.
That I think falls into like a hindsight view, because the way that all went down is there's a suicide bomber. He's on the ground. He's about to blow up, kill Captain America and everybody else on this block. Mm-hmm. Scarlet Witch is there. She uses her powers to save Captain America and everybody on the ground by throwing him up in the air, but that blows up part of a building and kills a bunch of people inside the building. The bomb was going to go off either way, right? That suicide bomber was going to hit that button and people were going to die. And Wanda made an action that caused different people to die than the people that the suicide bomber was going to attempt to kill. So, I mean, her intervention...
There's a lot of moral ambiguity in it.
Right. The intervention of the Avengers in that situation is kind of like... not necessarily a moot point, but they were trying their best, and their best just happened to shift.
She slipped up a little bit.
The worst part too, playing the devil's advocate to that, is that, or to my own point, I guess, is if she and he hadn't done anything, then they would have said, "Why didn't you do anything?"
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And either way,
so I get it.
Yeah. And there's always consequences for your actions, but there's also consequences to no actions, like you said. Then they would have been like, wow, we should have done something from this whatever skull guy. I don't even know what he was. Crossbones, thank you. Irrelevant. I don't really care about him. Let's get
he used to be very good looking, so I'm really sad about how his face ended up.
Crossbones?
Yeah,
Crossbones.
Rumlow.
You don't remember him?
He was the shield. He was a shield agent that actually turned out to be a Hydra agent.
Yeah.
He fought Cap in the elevator.
I remember him completely, guys.
His face got messed up, but you know who he is, right?
Yeah, I know. I'm saying I'm sad that he's like,
That his
He
face
got
got
blown
messed up.
I don't know that they necessarily say that his name is Crossbones in the movie, but his character from the comics
Is named Crossbones.
is named Crossbones. Yes.
But let's get into the real villain of this story, Mr. Zemo.
Helmut Zemo. So
We also have the German villain trying to be a Russian dude.
he's actually from Sokovia.
Trying to be
Yes.
Sokovian.
Yes. he's from Sokovia,
Dougie.
and
Sorry, guys. You hear our dog?
I do. He's getting it over there.
Yeah, let me try to subdue him. Y'all continue.
Just grab him. He's from Sokovia. He doesn't reveal this backstory until basically the very end. But his entire family was killed in what happened in Sokovia from Age of Ultron, even though he made attempts to move his entire family to the outskirts of the city and whatnot. So he enacts this entire plan to get revenge on the Avengers by having them fight each other rather than him going and trying to kill them
Which
himself.
is pretty smart.
It's
yes.
very smart, but it's also ridiculously elaborate and could have gone a million different ways. So I'm kind of like,
You know,
you're
sometimes
either
people
really
who want to
smart
get
or really convoluted.
yeah, sometimes people who want to get vengeance are like, I have to do it in this way because it's crazier. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's very intricate the way that he sets all this up. So his plan is to use the Winter Soldier and frame him for a bombing that happens at the UN, where some of the Avengers are.
Poor T'Chaka.
This is going to set off the Avengers against themselves because not all of them agree with how things are being handled,
And
especially
nobody agrees about Bucky. They
especially-
never do.
especially Captain America, who has an allegiance to Bucky.
Yeah.
So he's going to have him go defend
And Sam,
Bucky.
who has an allegiance to Cap.
You know, so people who shoot at you like to shoot at me. So that's why that's happening. Keep talking there.
Okay, we're gonna take a little bit of an intermission and
No,
Andre-
we'll talk about Zemo. So Zemo, pretty much what he does is he sets up Bucky or the Winter Soldier to look like he bombed the UN. When really what he had done was he had put on like a prosthetic. And
he had put
bombed-
that prosthetic on a doctor. The doctor was the one that was in the prosthetic doing the bombing. It was crazy, right?
Well,
Correct?
Doctor?
The doctor from the one that was supposed to do the psychological evaluation. He took him.
Right. Yes.
yeah, but I think it was Zemo. Well, I don't know who did the bombing then. Was it
I thought it
Zemo
was
or
the doctor.
So
In a
okay.
prosthetic.
No. So
Never
it's
thought.
I
It's-
thought it was Zemo.
it's Zemo.
Oh.
Zemo.
Yeah.
He's wearing a prosthetic and he has kidnapped a CIA investigator who is going to be the one who is supposed to interrogate.
Recognize him.
Right. Interrogate
you're
Bucky.
right. I'm sorry.
So he goes, he puts on this prosthetic that makes him look like Bucky.
Yes, then he bombs the
plants a
UN,
bomb,
yeah.
blows up everything, kills T'Chaka, the king of Wakanda,
No.
and then sets in motion Bucky being framed for this bombing by blasting that photo of him out everywhere.
And at this point in time, Bucky's basically just in hiding. He's been brainwashed for so long that he's still trying to figure out who he is. He goes to that museum and looks up Captain America, right? He kind of remembers who he is, kind of remembers who he used to be before he became the Winter Soldier, but he's just basically in hiding until he kind of gets a weird look from somebody at the newsstand and, you know, his soldier senses come on and he knows he's being
Ding, 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 ding.
pursued.
Soldier senses.
Soldier senses, yeah. Let's go with that.
Spidey
Instead of
soldier
Spidey
senses.
senses.
And he realizes he's being like made, so he runs over and sees the guy who was looking at him weird was reading a newspaper that had his face all over it. And pretty much he then realizes that he's gonna get apprehended.
Yeah.
I think the sucky part of all this is that I kind of liked Zemo at first. Like, I thought that I was going to like him, but you realize that he has, like, a major agenda because he has all of the stuff going in the background.
Mhm.
But in the meantime, all of this is happening. We find out that, well, this was a little bit earlier, but like we talked about, Peggy Carter had died, which was Cap's old flame, because she's, in real time, an older lady.
Nearly
She
100.
passes away.
Yeah, she lived a
Yeah.
long life.
And so Cap goes to her funeral to
in London, by the way.
In London. This is where my problem comes in. Luis and I talked about this. He goes to London. He ends up in Vienna. Well, does he go to? No, he doesn't go to Vienna. But the Accords are being signed in Vienna,
Ratified.
and then they all end up in Bucharest, in a 2-second.
There's some fast travel happening in this movie.
Definitely
sure.
fast
You can travel within 2 minutes.
And even T'Challa was like, I'm going to go there too. He's basically, Captain America is tracking Bucky, and Captain America is being tracked by T'Challa. Like, there's like this tracking going on because they both want Bucky, but in different ways, right? Like, T'Challa wants to kill him as vengeance for his father, and Captain America is trying to save him. So it's so much fun.
Yeah.
So fun. This whole fight scene's really fun too.
It's very cool. So Cap shows up at Bucky's apartment. He's like, they're coming for you, dog. And Bucky's like, I don't remember who you are. He's like, stop lying. Yes, you do. And then the cops come in, and they both just proceed to beat the living crap out of every police officer that shows up.
Single one. And I am so used to seeing Captain America kick some booty, but every time it's Bucky, like, I forget he has super soldier serum in him, but it always freaks me out. Like, it's so much more violent when it's Bucky. Yes.
Go ahead.
Luis and I, from the beginning of the movie, because we didn't really talk about it that early on, but from the beginning scene of the movie, when they started fighting, Luis and I were like, let's count how many times Cap would have killed somebody, because
he probably killed at least 10 guys leading up to that incident.
Because he punched them so hard.
How many times did he kill someone when he doesn't kill anybody?
Right.
Because there's no way that the person would have made it.
Oh, always. Andre and I are always
the guy's like, okay, like, no, you're not. No, you're not. You're dead.
He's not okay. They are so strong. He could punch you in the face and your skull would like crack open. If he really wanted it to.
This scene too, when they're in Bucky's apartment and they're fighting, Luis and I were like, he's dead. He's dead. No, you're not still living.
Totally. Yeah, I agree.
It's even funnier.
I'll never walk again.
It's even funnier because Captain America's like lecturing Bucky the entire time, like, hey, no murders or whatever, as he's slamming his adamantium shield into dudes' faces. And
I know, he says that, and then he throws his shield and this dude goes into the wall. I'm like, you would have sliced his neck off. Like, this is crazy, but I still love watching it.
He's like, I'm not going to kill anybody, but everybody in this building is paralyzed. That's what I'm here to do.
He's like, they're not dead. It's fine.
Y'all don't need a spine to live. Hey.
It's all right.
But did you die?
But did you die? Yeah, I like that. Oh my gosh, we should get one that has like Captain America's face. This is, but did you die?
So Cap and Bucky fight their way out of the apartment
Picture of him
building.
when he's doing that video.
They take out 75 dudes and then jump across the street to a parallel rooftop. And we get the entrance of the Black Panther for the first time in the movie.
Every time they jump off a building from that high and land, my stomach churns because all I can envision is your legs snapping off of your body. Like, they are so powerful, it's insane. And like, I forget that because yes, they all have these weapons and like Thor is super powerful, but Captain America is freaking powerful. And I think people forget that sometimes.
I mean, yeah, he's strong.
But yes, then you're right. The Black Panther comes in. And how did you feel? Like, we knew Black Panther was going to be in Civil War, but were you like, snap?
I was absolutely losing my mind over this entire movie.
And Spider-Man in one movie? Come on.
This whole thing is straight up nuts from the comic book's perspective. There is a comic book story called Civil War where the superheroes are having some infighting because of an event where some like low-level superheroes accidentally blow up like a school and kill a fair amount of children. And so the politics of the world decide that superheroes should register under the Superhero Registration Act.
Oh, kind of like X-Men.
Which will make all of their secret
mutants.
identities public and everything like that. And they can be held accountable for their actions.
Okay.
And so Captain America takes the same side that he's on now and is like, I don't know if that's necessarily going to be safe for all of us and all the mutants that are, need to be in hiding and protected and stuff like that. And they go toe-to-toe at it. And Spider-Man shows up in it and he crosses sides. It's all very cool. And so for them to adapt that entire story, which lasted like a year and a half in the comic books or whatever, and put it all in this Captain America movie with all of these moving pieces was dope. But then on top of that, they added in Black Panther. They were going to introduce him and spin off into his own movie. And then on top of that, they were able to reboot Spider-Man for the third time and put him in the MCU with a movie going forward for him as well. So yeah, my mind was melting when I first watched this movie, especially seeing this scene.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was not okay. Don't take this the wrong way. I was not hugely impressed with Black Panther until later in the scene. I thought that like his entrance was at first I was kind of like, oh, it's another guy. Like it just was not
who this.
I'm not saying he had to have sparkles shooting out his butt or anything, but like it just did not seem that he just kind of just jumped and was like,
hey, what's happening? But
I'm gonna kill you, y'all.
It's cool. They reveal his powers one by one over the course of the scene.
For sure. But so with that being said, I feel like his entrance was a little like, but throughout the scene, as they're chasing, they run from the rooftop, they get onto a car, they like fall through into like a freeway tunnel, and they're like running and jumping on cars, and very cool. I think the fact that they're in a tunnel where people are going at least 50, 60 miles an hour and they're running faster than the cars and they're dodging, that's very cool. I really
dudes
enjoy
are
that.
running so fast, and it's
so
awesome. They're running way faster than Quicksilver was in the Age of Ultron. They're going like 3 times the speed of that
dude. They are.
They are booking it, and it's all
Poor
3 of
Pietro.
them. It's so cool. Like, so we know Captain America. He's got the super soldier serum. He's booking it down the street or whatever. And then we know Bucky has an offshoot. Yeah, and then Bucky has an offshoot of that same super soldier serum. So he's also kicking it with his leg.
Kicking it.
But then we see Black Panther, and we haven't had his powers explained to us yet. But he basically is running off of this heart-shaped herb, which I think basically gives him almost the same equal strength and speed and agility.
Yeah, they're like all 3 matched.
They're all 3
perfectly.
almost evenly matched with each of their separate accoutrement. He's got the shield and the arm and the suit,
the claws.
And the claws.
Every time Black Panther like kind of falls and then he like goes like on all 4s. It's so sick. I love it.
It's dope. And to watch them run through
his I don't want to call it a costume, but his suit is so like sleek that when he does that, it's like martial artsy.
It's so like, cool, but it's also like Panther-y. It's like so sick.
Well, because Panthers are like velvety, aren't they?
Yeah,
like,
they have like black velvety fur.
Ooh.
They're gorgeous.
Yeah.
He takes off that helmet. You're like, all right.
You don't gotta tell me twice. I was like real excited for the Black Panther movie after this.
Oh my goodness.
Andre was excited too.
He was also excited. Yes.
Daddy T'Challa.
I ain't mad about it.
So they run through this tunnel. They have this whole fight scene. Falcon shows up and is assisting.
Because he goes wherever Cap goes.
Yeah. Sam.
And then War Machine shows up and stops everything. He's like, hey, you dummies, you're all under arrest now. I hope you're happy.
Hope you're happy, Cap. You're a criminal.
Because they basically do all the stuff that the Accords are supposed to stop in this 1 5-minute sequence.
You know what's interesting to me? Captain America, Army, very loyal, very true to whatever he wants. But so is War Machine, and they're on opposite sides. Isn't that so interesting? Like War Machine's like, I'm signing these because it's the right thing to do, just like I go to every mission. And Captain America's like, I'm not signing these because it's the right thing to do, and blah, blah, blah. They almost have like very similar ideologies, but they went different ways in this.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's what makes this movie so intriguing is that there's nobody, well, except for the dum-dums they bring in, right?
Well, yeah.
Like,
I love them.
They're kind of like, I'm here, so I'm happy. But like everybody else who's a part of the fight believes that what they're doing is right, and that's what makes it intriguing. If they were just doing it because they were like whatever, then it wouldn't be so cool. But like even Black Widow, why would Black Widow be on the side of signing, right? In your mind, you would be like, no, she's totally going to be on.
She's always on both sides. It's just kind of how she is. You know what I mean? I love her.
But it's smart. But it's intriguing though too to think that like she is honestly being what I would probably do. She's playing both sides, right?
Yeah, that'd be me probably too.
She's getting the best out of both sides because she sees that like playing with someone longer is probably going to get you farther, and then you can cut back if you need to.
Well,
you know
and
what I
even
mean?
Wanda, like, she understands why she's being kept there with Vision. She gets it. She doesn't like it. She really doesn't want to hurt anybody else. So she's kind of like dealing with it. But then when there's an opportunity for her to go with Clint, she's like, I'm sorry, I'm going to go. You know, because she's not a bad person. She just is very powerful and doesn't know how to use it yet.
Yeah, I think you're right, Emily, in that the coolest thing about this movie is that even if Zemo wasn't in it at all and he wasn't behind everything, pulling the strings and stuff like that, it would be just as compelling of a movie to have these two heroes say that they're in the right and try to fight each other over it. And
and then
they could have just fought about their different perspectives about this whole accord, and it still would have held.
Like you didn't have to bring in like the divisive piece at the end, right? And because really, it was a good movie until you found that out, and then you were like, "Oh,
what?"
Whoa.
Exactly. It blows it up in a completely different direction than you were expecting.
Because so at this point in the movie, everybody gets captured pretty much. Everybody that was fighting gets captured because of the Accords. War Machine takes them in, and they are all getting held
in an office.
In an office by the UN, and Bucky starts getting interrogated. But I'm just going to tell you right now that I forgot. I realize he's not an important character, but I totally forgot that Martin Freeman is in this movie.
That's
yes,
right.
I love him.
Mr. Everett Ross. He gets to show up and hang out.
He's so sassy with his American accent. I'm like,
I know.
Okay. Because I think he's a really good character in Black Panther. So it's a good setup.
Yes, it's really good for him. And I like that he's in here and that we, watched him and Cumberbatch in Sherlock, and they both get to be in the MCU too.
It's fun.
Yeah. I've seen some really fun interviews of them, just BSing behind scenes, and they're like, oh, well, what about this and what about that? And they've actually played together a lot because they were in The Hobbit together.
Right.
They were in Sherlock together, and now they're in the MCU. So they definitely have a lot of history, which makes it funny.
They're so fun.
But anywho,
what's the girl's name that they have on the inside that used to spy on Captain America? Peggy's niece.
Sharon Carter.
Sharon Carter.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Nissan.
Yes.
So they have her on the inside, and that's kind of how they're able to hear Bucky's interview, right? So Bucky is being held, and he's being interrogated by a doctor. Lo and behold, the doctor is Zemo. He cuts the power, and so everything goes down.
It's another completely intricate thing that he had set up. He had like an EMP delivered to a power station and had it kill the power in the entire country.
I was so confused during that scene when I watched it the first time. I thought it was a bomb. I'm like, he's sending this bomb to this really fancy thing, which I didn't know what the thing was at that point. And then you're oh, it's a power plant.
I know.
Oh, it's an EMP. Oh, that's really smart.
Yeah,
he's very smart.
He shut down the power to this whole city.
And what's even better is that Captain America and Sharon and Falcon figure out basically right before this that someone on the inside is doing this. Why would they set this up? They're using their tactical senses, and they both look at the doctor interrogating Bucky, and they're like, crap. And then the power cuts. I'm like, oh no, they figured it out. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
It's pretty good. So
Zemo unlocks the Winter Soldier.
Yes. I was going to say we missed that scene. It was it's important to the plot, but it's not that important to talk about. Zemo went and got the really important Hydra stuff to help to really learn about what Hydra was doing, where were they? Siberia or something? In
Siberia, in Russia, yeah.
Right?
Russia somewhere? He gives a Hydra dude a swirly that ends his life, and he steals his mission report book that tells you how to control the Winter Soldier. He's like, tell me.
It's not a mission report book.
Tell me who else.
That whole book is just about Winter Soldier.
No, I'm pretty sure it was the swirly report. That was fantastic.
It's the swirly report.
So he gets that book, and that's what he's using to unlock the Winter Soldier. They have code
words.
autism code words.
Brainwash code words.
Homecoming,
Which
freight car.
We were like, freight car. He fell out of the freight car, and then it said homecoming, and we're like, ooh, Spider-Man homecoming.
Yeah.
I don't know if they really have meanings, but I thought we were trying to come up with reasons as to why they had a.
Yeah, I think I watched an interview with the Russo brothers, and they were basically just like, yeah, I mean, we alluded with homecoming and freight car, but all the rest of the words are just kind of like fun things to say out loud in a Russian accent. Yeah,
Makes sense.
you know.
Say gulag, so they didn't say all of them.
Exactly.
Gulag.
Not too much else to it. So from there, Zemo gets control of the Winter Soldier, and Cap and Falcon have to go down there to try to stop him with Black Panther hot on their tail. Winter Soldier kind of beats them up and gets away
Hardcore.
into a helicopter.
Oh, the helicopter scene makes me so uncomfortable where he's just choking Captain America and the helicopter's going down. I'm like, oh.
He's choking Cap. Helicopter's trying to fly away. Also, Captain America, he's like, helicopter? I don't think so. I'm going to pull that down with my arms. And he's just
ripped.
Dude,
so
many times.
Ripped.
Listen, this is as hard as I'm flexing. And it was 4 times as big as my bicep. Goodness gracious.
Luis has shown me memes probably 70 million times of this scene. And it's in all kinds of different contexts. But it's like, right, he's like this. And it's like when Bay gives you that look. And it's like, and then he's like, ah.
I love it.
And then Bucky's look towards him. It's pretty funny.
Oh, God. So when it popped on screen, I was like, good Lord, here we go again.
Yeah. I mean, it's awesome. And
Chris
impressive.
Evans was like, I've been training years for this.
Yeah,
dude, his arms, though. I was like,
yeah.
I do not find him attractive on a normal day, but like that T-shirt with those guns, okay. You flex that Second Amendment.
The T-shirt
right,
could barely withstand him trying to pull a helicopter down. But it does. He
T-shirt.
He and the helicopter go down. Him and Bucky. He pulls Bucky out of the water, and I guess that hit Bucky's head hard enough for him to come out of his Winter Soldier state. And him and
Poor
Falcon,
Bucky.
him and
He's
Falcon
like,
go their separate ways.
why? I thought this wasn't going to happen again.
Sucks to suck, right?
Sucks to suck indeed. So at this point,
you just enlisted the army and you end up being a super soldier. Like, what the
right. He thought he was just going to go fight some Nazis or whatever, and now he's got a metal arm and he's got long hair and everything. His life is a mess. So from there, the Avengers have really gone their separate ways. They are on 2 opposing sides, and they are trying to recruit a few more members for each so that they can achieve their individual goals.
All the recruiting is so fun.
Yes.
this was not as funny to me the first time around, and I think it's because I didn't have like the deeper appreciation that I have for the characters now, because it was their origin more or less, right? But like, and because I didn't like I didn't like Ant-Man the first time I saw it, but this time I think I peed my pants like 7 times. It was so
funny.
So funny.
It's really cool. They're like, oh, I know a guy, so we'll go get Ant-Man and let's go rescue Wanda. Let's grab Hawkeye from his house.
And
with
it's
his
where
kids.
Iron Man and Spider-Man's relationship started, and it's one of my favorite ones in the MCU, hands down.
Tony goes to get the young kid from Queens that he has discovered on the internet, on YouTube, and he's like, I'm gonna put this dude on my team and upgrade his stuff.
His tech.
And it's
only Tony would like, oh yeah, I saw you on YouTube. That's you, right? Yeah, that's you. All right.
Need another fighter? I'll go.
I love it.
There's a 15-year-old. I think
this
I can help
is
us out.
where I started liking Iron Man. Was when the Spider-Man stuff and him started happening, and his
for sure, it's the turnaround.
His character arc started changing, and I was like, okay, I'm starting to like him.
Yeah.
I like his character arc of him too.
Yeah.
I will say,
like the whole signing and stuff. He really has changed.
Iron Man has the best character arc of the MCU. Like
Iron Man, yeah. Cap stays consistent. Iron Man.
He's consistent, but Iron Man is just because by the end of Endgame, I love Iron Man and I hate Iron Man. So
I think it's funny though too because Iron Man is the most prolific of the team in a going out and greeting people and being in the press and doing this and doing that. So he has the most exposure to real people, I think.
Right.
Like, in different ways. And so when he meets the lady who plays, what's her name in that other, in Luke Cage, oh my gosh, I'm like, oh, you're a bad mother. I don't believe you. But
right. Alfred Woodward.
Whatever her name is.
Yes.
Not that it matters. But in this movie.
Mariah Stokes.
Stokes.
You see her, you know, he sees the people whose lives have been affected by them, while Captain America doesn't really. You know, and I'm not saying that would change his mind, but it makes it different when you're around other people who are like, you killed my son.
Yeah.
You killed my so-and-so. And that's not the first time Tony's heard that. You know?
It's also part of Tony's
like
redemption arc, is that he's trying to be a better person because his inventions have killed people in the past, and he's trying to be better. So if we need to put checks on the Avengers, then absolutely I'm going to be at the forefront of all of that. Because that's what I've been trying to do to correct my own life this entire time. It makes a lot of sense. It's awesome. I will say that I love this Spider-Man part, because not only is it a good introduction for Spidey in the MCU, but also as part of that original Civil War story, Spider-Man was a huge part of it. This is the original stuff from the comics. So Spider-Man is initially on Tony Stark's side in the Civil War between all the superheroes, and he reveals his secret identity, and he adopts this Iron Spider suit that Tony makes for him, and has a whole bunch of cool stuff, including the arms that you see in Infinity War. But then yes, his big golden spidery arms. But then as time goes on and he fights and speaks with Captain America, Spider-Man eventually switches sides and goes on to Captain America's side to stop the Superhero Registration Act from happening. Because in the events of the Civil War and him revealing his identity, his Aunt May is killed directly by a supervillain, and it's because he has revealed who his secret identity, and that's a direct result of what happened. So he switches sides. So Tony showing up to recruit Spider-Man is really great, especially because in the scene, Tony asks, like, "Hey man, so why do you do this? What gets you out of bed every morning?" And
no, he says, "What gets you out of that twin size bed?"
Right, what gets you out of that twin size bed and into that onesie? And Spider-Man literally basically says Captain America's whole philosophy. He says, if I see something happening and I know that I can stop it and I don't have the power to, and I let it happen, then it's on me. It's my fault. So I put on the suit and I go fight the crime so that these things don't happen.
Neighborhood Spider-Man.
With great power comes great responsibility, he says without saying it.
Pretty much.
So I really like that he gives out that philosophy, and then Tony's like, all right, well, come on my side. I'm gonna whip that right out of you.
Do you have a passport?
Yes. No.
I like that he's a kid. He's like, so does this come with some money?
He said
new suit. Okay.
Yeah, you need a whole upgrade. So yeah, they convene in Vienna at an airport in Germany.
And doesn't Black Widow go and get Ant-Man?
No, Hawkeye goes and gets
Ant-Man.
Hawkeye brings Wanda.
Who's hecka mad because he was supposed to be retired. I love that he's like, just disappointing my family again.
Right. Yeah, that comes into play a little bit later in the movies afterwards.
Yeah, it does.
So sad.
He had a debt to pay.
He did say that. Did you guys hear that when he said, I came because I had a debt to pay?
Or not? I'm not sure if he used those exact words,
I think so.
Then he does a shoulder look towards Wanda.
Yeah.
So kind of like to say, I had to go in and get her.
Right.
He did. And he feels like responsible for her too, probably.
Yeah.
Well, and I said I didn't say this last time, but I had noticed it when we watched Age of Ultron. But did you notice that when they showed his the video of his baby right at the end of the movie, it said his name on it, and it said Nathaniel Pietro, whatever the last name is.
Oh, yeah. I never realized that. That's super cool.
So
because he felt like he was like the dad to those kids. Yeah.
Right. Yes.
So I think that he feels like he needs to be there for Wanda when, she's hurt
in trouble.
In duress.
She's in captured. So Hawkeye is kind of playing a fatherly role to Wanda, just as Tony is playing a fatherly role to Spider-Man on these opposite sides of the war. So they head out to the middle of the airport, all suited up. Everybody's there. And everybody just starts beating the living crap out of each other.
Oh, it's so good.
It's so cool.
Oh, even the Ant-Man stuff in this got me even more this time since we had just watched Ant-Man. Gosh, it was so fun watching Ant-Man.
The Ant-Man and the Spider-Man stuff was my favorite.
I believe this is yours, Captain America.
Mr. Stark, I did what you told me to do.
Hello.
Even when he's fighting him, he's like, I just got to impress Mr. Stark right now. But it's nice to meet you. So cool. Wow, it's Captain America.
I'm from Queens. I'm from Brooklyn. It's cool. We're New Yorkers, superheroes in mass.
Even Captain's like, kid, you don't even know. Oh, Mrs. Stark said he would say that. Tony.
Yeah, watching Spider-Man fight in this was really hilarious, especially when he's fighting the Winter Soldier and Falcon off to the side. He's like, "You have the right to remain silent."
So stupid.
Falcon goes, "Kid, I don't know if anyone's ever told you, but
Sam's like, everybody has a gimmick." I'm like, dude, you literally have a mechanical wing.
You're a bird. You're a bird man.
Calm down. Yours is the most embarrassing out of all of them. Okay, Sam. I try to like him so much, but he's so like.
Oh yeah, for sure. And even Ant-Man, he's so funny throughout all this because he like really doesn't care. He's just like fighting them, and he doesn't like Starks, right? Because Hank Pym was like, never trust a Stark, so he's like, okay, I'll fight this dude, like whatever.
It's so cool watching Ant-Man fight like Black Widow because he
kicking her butt.
He used all those Black Widow moves in the Ant-Man movie where he's like throwing his legs around people's faces and stuff like that. And then he does that in a shrunken down version and gets her arm behind her back. That was cool.
That was good.
But I also like how like in regular hand-to-hand combat, she was beating him up because he doesn't really fight that well. Yeah. But like when he's small, he does, right? Because he uses like momentum and stuff. But it's hilarious because she was beating him up and he's like, oh.
And I hadn't seen Ant-Man before I had seen Civil War. I think I saw it after, like when we rewatched them all together. And I think the only thing I thought that was cool of Ant-Man was him getting really big, but I like didn't understand why. You know what I mean? I was just like, what just happened? But it makes so much more sense this time.
I like it was such an underrated moment the first time I watched it, but I really like how Clint, first off, how all of the BFF pairs, number one, are split up, right? So Hawkeye and Natasha, two different sides.
Wanda and Vision.
And, obviously Tony and Steve. You would assume that Hulk and Thor would be on opposite sides.
Sure.
Probably.
The whole idea is so fantastic because Black Panther's in there, right? And he's just really mad at Cap at this point.
And Bucky,
And Bucky. But it's so good because Clint at one point is like, I know everybody here. And then he looks at Black Panther and he's like, oh, hey, I haven't met you yet. I'm Clint.
And he's like, I do not care.
I do not care.
I don't care. Proceeds to kick him in the face.
Or even like
okay, I guess. So we went there.
Clint and Natasha fighting, and they're like, we're still friends, right? And they're like, yeah.
Wanda's just like, you guys are pulling each other's punches. What are you even doing fighting each other? Go fight somebody else.
It's so good. It's so good.
It's really cool the entire time. Ant-Man pulls his...
I thought that was a water truck.
Ant-Man's blowing stuff up. Ant-Man becomes Giant Man. And
so cool, dude.
They have to take him down. So Spider-Man goes, you guys ever see that really, really old movie, The Empire Strikes Back? And everybody's like, how old is this kid?
Yeah, like 15, right? 16?
Yes. He's about 15.
He's like, I don't know. I didn't carbon date him.
It's hilarious. And they proceed to pull the AT-AT move where they spin a rope around Ant-Man's legs and knock him over. And then Cap and the Winter Soldier attempts to get away because they know that Zemo is on his way to unlock the potential of the other 5 secret super soldiers that
they need that Quinjet.
Which I'll be honest, I did not remember that plot piece
It's
rewatching it.
It's a real MacGuffin. It's they introduced these other super soldiers earlier in the movie.
Just kind of like throughout on the flashbacks.
Yeah, and they're like
Bucky.
They're like, these guys are just as powerful as Bucky and Captain America, and if they're unleashed, they're gonna
they're more
crazy
angry
damage.
because Andre was explaining to me like the reason Cap is so pure is because he had like the most pure form of the super soldier serum. So as people have been replicating it, they haven't been replicating it the same way, and it's taking different effects, right? That's like why Bucky was able to be brainwashed so much.
Right.
And then these other soldiers are just so angry, like they don't want to listen.
And technically,
because it just keeps changing.
Technically, the Hulk's transformation comes from an offshoot of the super soldier serum as well. So there's all these other offshoots that aren't as good as
not as pure as
Cap's.
Captain. Yeah.
It's like the only time they got it right was with Cap, unfortunately.
Basically.
For everybody else.
Yeah.
Exactly. So they're going there to stop Zemo from unleashing these 5 other dudes and one lady, super soldiers. But when they arrive in Siberia.
Oh, and you forgot that Black Widow turned and let them go.
Yes, Black Widow lets them go. And
she says something real snarky to Black Panther. She's like, I said I would help you find him, not like capture him.
Right, yeah. Black Widow kind of just has
her
a change of
reasoning
heart.
was just that Captain wasn't going to stop. So, like, what's the point?
Right.
He's not going to stop. He's going to keep going. So she was like, just go.
Yeah.
Well, she's an assassin. So I feel like for her, it's like, okay, I am your friend. I don't agree with you right now or whatever. But, like, if you're really not going to stop, like, there's no way I can stop you, then I'm either going to have to kill you or let you go.
Exactly.
So,
and I don't want to kill you.
Yeah. So just go then, you know? Do I think she could kill him? I don't know. I feel like she's pretty smart. But
and then
like,
it's really,
well just let him go.
Yeah, she could maybe do it in an espionage way. I don't know if in a
really, really
fight
sad because they lock up their friends.
Yeah, so the battle is over.
And it like really breaks my heart. Like, and they're all at the raft. Clint is there. He has a family, Iron Man.
Hang on.
Sorry, I got real mad about
it. The battle ends as Captain America and Bucky leave off in their Quinjet, and while they're in pursuit, while Iron Man and War Machine are in pursuit, Falcon is flying after them. Vision throws a laser beam.
Oh, I forget about this.
At Falcon. Falcon does a really sick duck and dive move, and his laser beam hits War Machine right in his chest. It shuts down his suit completely, and he falls like 1,000 feet out of the air. I'm dead stick, Tony. And then crash lands, and remember all those paralyzed dudes that Captain America beat up earlier? Well, now War Machine is amongst them.
That was like the worst. The first time I saw it, I was like, ugh, I like shuddered. Like, it still gets me every time, but I'm like, oh, no.
Well, and the saddest part was that number one, it was unintentional.
Yes.
But that it really just shows, like, physically and tangibly what happens when you're fighting internally. You know?
Yeah.
Mistakes happen, and people are going to get hurt
Vision.
emotionally, obviously, but physically. Like, I feel bad for Vision, but
I'm sure Vision knew how Wanda
done.
felt now, because I'm sure that's how Wanda felt, you know. And now Vision's
just to throw in some stuff from the comics. So like when this initially happened from my first viewing, I thought War Machine was dead. I thought they had for sure killed him because in the comics they do this thing where they're having this civil war, and in order to help Captain America's side, in order to help Iron Man's side, they develop this like clone of Thor, and the Thor clone comes in and he uses a bolt of lightning and kills Giant Man. So there's a differentiation between Ant-Man and Giant Man in the comics, and they kill him. His name is Goliath, and that's what kind of stops the war dead stop at that point too, because we didn't mean to kill each other. I thought we were just fighting over an ideology, and we shouldn't be dead right here. So when Vision hits War Machine, I was like, Rhodey, Nody. But
it was crazy.
He had a heartbeat and makes it out. Yeah.
I was not expecting that. I looked at Luis. I remember because we watched this in theaters, and I looked at him and was like, dude. Luis said, Roddy is dead. I said, no, Rhodey is dead.
Rhodey. He's not dead, though, guys. He's okay.
Shoulda.
Yeah, he shoulda for sure. But now we're making our way to Siberia.
Yes.
So Zemo is there.
Siberia.
Zemo is there. He finds the base. He gets into it, and we see that all of these super soldiers are still there on ice. Hydra, you don't do a good job of hiding nor destroying your stuff. All those files are in there. Like, Hydra.
Yeah, they just left the whole base.
Let's just leave it all here. Okay, fine.
Let's just turn off the lights. Nobody will find this place.
So Cap and Bucky get there. And
wonder how long those people would live there, like iced forever.
Yeah, I guess
basically, until they needed them, I guess. So Cap and Bucky go in. They know Zemo's there because obviously it's been opened already. But they sense somebody else, and it turns out it's Iron Man. So at this point, Go ahead.
We'll pause because we did mention that they went to that the other people are on the raft. But it's really important that we talk about like what happens at the raft because that's like the turning point where people agree.
I know. I kind of skipped over that. Yeah. So they lock them up on the raft.
So Iron Man goes in because he realizes he needs to get after. Well, he needs to figure out what the hell's going on. Honestly, so he goes in to go see.
And he does kind of figure it out beforehand, right? I think Friday or Saturday or whoever his tech right now reveals like what happened.
Yeah, Friday
because they found the dead body in the hotel, and so then it kind of spiraled down. And was it Friday or Saturday? I don't know. Friday. Okay, Friday basically tells him you were wrong. You know what I mean? And he's like, crap. So you're right. He goes to the raft to get intel.
So he goes to the raft. He starts trying to talk to the buddies on the opposite side, and they don't want to talk to him at all, obviously, because they're in jail. And he uses his tech to kind of wipe out the comm system so Secretary of State can't hear them. And he talks directly to Falcon because he knows Falcon knows the most about what what Cap's doing. And he tells him, like, straight up, I realized that it wasn't Bucky, that Zemo's behind this, and if we don't help him, like, there's going to be more super soldiers and we're going to be in a hot mess.
There'll be consequences.
So, tell me where they're at. I'm going to go. And he says, go as a friend and go alone. And he's like, can do. So now, back in Siberia.
Yeah, so they're in Siberia. Captain and Bucky are there, and then Iron Man kind of comes in on them, and they're like, what? Why are you here? And he's like, okay, I'm going to help you guys get it. I know I was wrong. Kind of the same thing that happened, right? So when they get to where the super soldiers are, they notice there's a bullet hole in each of them. And Zemo's like in the thing that's going to survive bombs like on the comms, and he's like, you think I wanted more of these? No. I just wanted to see an empire fall from within because that's how empires fall. And then he just throws a big one right in front of him. Pop! Puts it on the screen of Bucky killing Iron Man's parents as the Winter Soldier. And that is just rude, Zemo. It's rude.
Yeah. Also, did you mention that Black Panther was hot on their tail? He followed.
Yeah,
Iron
he's
Man.
always hot on their tail.
Yes.
He's just there.
So he's in Siberia too.
He's there in the background.
And he also learns that
he was wrong.
That Zemo was the one who committed the bombing rather than the Winter Soldier. So he's
just kind of watching all this happen.
Oh, my bad.
Just like that. Oops.
Oopsie
pretty much.
And watching Iron Man's face, watching this video of his parents dying, like, first of all, nobody wants to see a video of your parents getting murdered. That is awful. Second of all, it was the Winter Soldier. Third of all, and the real kicker, Captain America knew and didn't tell him. And that's where I was just like, oh no, turning point. Oh no.
Yeah.
So this is what I said at this point in the movie. I said the hardest part about this movie is that the rest of it has been pretty fun up until here. Like, there's been some sad stuff and everything, but it's been a really good movie. And the airport fight scene was so fun and so good. But this next fight scene is just heartbreaking. Like, I can't even enjoy.
So good.
No, see, I cannot enjoy that it's good because I'm like, oh,
it's torturous.
Like,
but I like
it's so emotionally, like, it's baggage. Like, you can see punching with everything you have. Like, versus just like die villains. It's like
I know.
literally
But
I have years of regret.
I like things that make me feel this way, that are real and that are emotional and stuff like this. And maybe that's why I like this movie a lot, because it is just, like you said, it's like heart-wrenching, like watching them fight. And then kudos to their acting skills, because for them to be able to be like, we got to hash it out at each other right now. Like, all of their facial expressions are dead on. They did so good, actually making me feel like Iron Man hated their guts. Like, as of now, it's been a playful hate, right? It's always a playful hate. But in this moment, it was a big, like, you're dead to me type of thing.
You killed my mom. Or he killed my mom.
And you didn't tell me?
Yeah. Yeah, so Iron Man, he really puts as much rage as humanly possible into his fighting.
He's trying his hardest.
He's really going after Bucky. He's not planning on taking him hostage and bringing him to the raft. He's going for the kill.
Him. Yeah.
And Cap is trying to do everything in his power to stop that from happening, and has to fight just as hard back.
And he's like, it wasn't him. And he's like, I don't care. He killed my mom.
Don't care.
Don't care. He killed my mom.
Yeah.
I'd do the same thing. I would do the same thing. I'd be like, Bucky, it's time to go.
So they fight it out. They fight it out to the teeth, to the very bitter end, and Captain America.
Oh, when he like picks up his shield and it looks like he's gonna like slice Iron Man's head off, and Iron Man makes that really scared face, like, and he just hits him like on his core thingy that powers his suit. Makes you shiver in your spine.
Cap, he gets his I could do this all day face on, and he overcomes Iron Man, which is cool. Well, he does it with the help of the Winter Soldier, of course.
Yeah.
But like in an even match, Captain America versus Iron Man should win. He has the technology to beat him, but Captain America is so resilient and so much more knowledgeable about fighting that he really gets the drop on him. And
Iron Man gets some punches in there for sure.
Oh, absolutely. They're both.
Tony's just like more. I think he's more innovative, and Cap is a fighter.
Right.
That's the difference. Is that Cap is like
God. And what did it was Bucky grabbing his leg, distracting him, because Iron Man thought he was down. So like that's really what did it. And they just kind of cut it from there. And then they go to Black Panther, who's outside because Zemo is just sitting outside, real proud and happy of himself that they're fighting in there and his empire is falling. And we find out Zemo's ammo, which we kind of already knew about through Sokovia.
Right. He's been listening to this voicemail of his wife, leaving him the last message over and over again throughout the movie. And
it's really sad.
He listened to it one last time, and he's
going to shoot himself. Black Panther was like, no, the world of the living is not done with you just yet.
Mm-hmm. He's like, I am done with revenge, and so are you. And then he blocks the gun and
with his vibranium claws.
Yeah, and locks him up.
They do lock him up good too.
Yeah, so that's basically the end. Then we move
end of Zemo, basically.
We move on to Cap takes Bucky away, and all of their friends are still locked up. The Sokovia Accords have been signed.
Cap takes Bucky to Wakanda.
Right. Yes. What was I about to? Bucky's in Wakanda. Cap's there, but at the very end, Cap sends Tony a package to Mr. Stank, and
so good.
He receives it. It's a cell phone, old school flip phone, and a letter. And the letter is basically saying, "Hey, sorry we were fighting, but this is the way it's got to be right now. But you know who I am, you know what I'm about, and if you ever need me, I'm just one call away."
I'm only one call away.
Oh, I thought you were going to do call me, beat me, if you want to reach me, if you want to save me, it's okay.
And he does call him eventually. I mean, we know what
I was
happens.
just going to say that. It's really interesting because in this movie, I was like, call you. But then it's funny because then Endgame comes around, which we will be doing maybe soon.
They need each other. They all need each other.
There's that old phone pops out again. He's like, dang it, I gotta call him.
I've been keeping this phone in my pocket for this
and you know
entire
what?
time.
sometimes
and I want to say, like, how long do you think that time period was from the end of Civil War to there? Like, at least a year, right?
I would say like 2 years.
Because Scott was almost done. How long was Scott on house arrest?
Let's see. I think what they normally do is kind of like a real-time thing. So this movie came out in 2016, and I think it takes place in 2016. And then Infinity War and Endgame take place 2019, and then there's the 5 years later or whatever like that. So it's been like 2 or 3 years.
I was going to say like 2 or 3 years because Hulk's been gone forever, dude. It's been a long time for him when he comes back, you know?
So he's been keeping that cell phone in his pocket for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just waiting.
That's Tony for you.
For the off chance that he'd have to use it. That's crazy. So that's the end of Civil War.
And there's 2 after credit scenes.
Yes, we get the tease.
Well, you just told one.
We get the tease for Wakanda.
Yes, Bucky is in Wakanda.
He's going back on ice.
They're trying to figure out how to get the brainwash out of him. Which, if anybody can do it, it's definitely the Wakandans. So
not that we knew that in this, though.
We did not.
Is a great precursor to like what the heck is going on here.
I
At
know
least
when
for people who don't know the comic book world, you know, I'm like.
Right.
When
they zoom in on that Panther statue, I was like,
oh,
let's go. Let's get it.
And then what's the other post-credit scene?
Spider-Man?
Yes, we see Spider-Man hanging out in his apartment with Aunt May, and he's got a black eye from Steve.
You don't know him. He's from Brooklyn.
He's from Brooklyn. You don't know him. And Aunt May gives him some ice, and he sets off his spider signal onto the ceiling, which is cool. So that sets up both Black Panther and Spider-Man Homecoming.
Which is so good to be able to say, like, which we had talked about with Age of Ultron, and I was so pumped about that it really, like, allowed the story to, like, spiral outwards, right? But this one also does it, too, along with Ant-Man being its own standalone movie. But here, too, it brings them into the fold. Because without these 3 characters, well, I'm not saying Black Panther didn't do a lot because a lot of the fight happened in Wakanda, right? So that it's a lot. But he didn't do a whole bunch in Infinity War, but Spider-Man did, and Ant-Man did.
Ant-Man's more in Endgame, yeah.
Well, yeah, but without Ant-Man, we would have been donezo.
Right.
You know, like
they wouldn't have been able to do the things that they need to do.
Good job getting caught in the quantum realm.
So in the whole thing, this is like a really cool like finalizer to what happens in Infinity Doubler, you know, Infinity and Endgame. It's really, really fantastic.
And it's interesting the way that they have this movie, Civil War
was
set up.
The first of Phase 3.
Right. It's the first movie in Phase 3. And it's an Avengers level event movie where it sets up the entirety of Phase 3. And then we don't get another big movie with everybody in it until Infinity War.
They do this standalone. So Doctor Strange, Guardians 2, Spider-Man, Thor Ragnarok, Black Panther, and then Infinity War.
Oh my God, that's a lot. I forgot.
Yeah, and then after Infinity War is Ant-Man and the Wasp, Captain Marvel, then Endgame, and then the most recent Spider-Man, Far From Home.
Mm-hmm.
Phase 3 is legit, dude. I love Phase 3.
It's wow.
We just rewatched Doctor Strange again, and Luis and I just kept looking at each other like, this movie is so good.
Oh, I was going to say you like it, right? I love that movie.
And then Luis was trying to get me to watch. Oh, did you watch Spider-Man Homecoming?
Addie wanted to watch it.
Addie wanted to watch it.
Oh.
Addie was like, Spider-Man!
Spider-Man.
And Luis wanted to watch Black Panther today, and I was like, can we just wait? We've got all these movies, like, just watch them in order, please.
They're piling up.
It happens. I can't wait. You're speaking of Doctor Strange. When Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness finally comes out, I'm going to lose my mind.
That movie's
gonna be
so
awesome.
excited.
Wild.
We'll talk. We'll have a discussion on all the future movies after our next episode.
Please.
Yes, for this one we're done. So let's talk shmoney's. Of course, it made money. It's a freaking Marvel movie.
Yeah, it
made a little bit.
It made a pocket change.
Indeed. So this movie,
couple nickels.
just a few speckles. It had a budget of $250 million.
Yikes.
Pretty big budget, but I mean, the cast is so big in these movies that
They got to pay them.
yeah, and
all the blowing up of stuff.
Robert Downey Jr. is like $50 million of that alone. So it's an expensive cast that they got going on. But it ended up with a domestic gross of $400 million and a worldwide gross of $1.1 billion.
They're fine, okay? They make their money back every time.
They're fine.
It's not a question. It's just how much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there you go.
They're not hurting for cash over here.
Absolutely not. What's his tomato?
On Rotten Tomatoes, this movie
Dougie.
has a score of 91%.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Fresh, baby. And an audience score
Pretty
of 89%.
fresh.
All right.
The critics' consensus says Captain America Civil War begins the next wave of Marvel movies with an action-packed superhero blockbuster boasting a decidedly non-cartoonish plot and the courage to explore thought-provoking themes.
Agreed.
Hey, I like that. That's a really nice consensus.
Exactly.
I know. I like how we read the consensus now.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Yeah, I like this too.
So
Because sometimes they don't agree, but today
that was a beautiful way of putting it. Thanks, critic consensus. Our sun's going down here. So nice. Let's go ahead and give our ratings. Luis, let's start with you, sir.
About a 9. I liked it. It was fun. Fun again. How many more movies was it until Infinity Wars?
After this
Oh,
one,
like
there's a lot.
five movies in
Five
between.
movies in between.
And realistically, we said a span of 3 years, huh?
Yeah, roughly 3 years.
They usually had about 2 come out a year, so.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll give it about a 9.
He's giving it a 9. All right, Andre.
I think I'm gonna give this movie a 9.5.
Oh.
Yeah, this I always say that Captain America: The Winter Soldier is my favorite MCU film. I really love that one. But this one, the sequel to that one, is basically right on par with it. They're two of the best, most well done movies in this entire franchise. And I think this one, like the critics' consensus says, it really tackles the thought-provoking themes really well. So much so that it's probably one of the best superhero movies of all time. Like it's this and The Incredibles, and these are the awesome ones that really show you how deep these movies can be.
Well, and just to kind of double off of what you're saying, it really it reminds me of The Incredibles a lot, which is funny that you bring that up, because when you think about Winter Soldier, for example, I really like Winter Soldier. Definitely in my top 3. There's a bad guy, there's a good guy, he meets a friend, they get together and they go against the bad guy, you know, and there is a couple plot twists, but there's nothing that you have to think about as being right or wrong. And this is where you really, like, personally as a viewer are like, ooh, what do I agree with?
Yeah,
what would
exactly.
I do? You know? Yeah. And it allows you to kind of become a part of the universe and see characters that you really care about have these divisive kind of thoughts and feelings. And I just really like that it, like you said, it's a lot deeper than some of the other plots that are just like, don't sell weapons of mass destruction and kill harmless people.
Right.
Okay, you're right.
That's what makes it so fun. I know that sounds bad. Like, that would be fun, but it is. Well, Emily, go ahead and rate it then.
I'm going to say probably a 9. I really liked it. It was really good. I love the additions of, Spider-Man and Black Panther. It's fantastic. I love Scott Lang in it now.
She loves Scott Lang now.
I love Scott Lang too. He's so
stupid, so funny.
I know.
But I will say that the first time I watched this, I was very colored by not understanding where it was going to go from here.
Right.
It was so shocking that it was confusing and disheartening. But now that I can watch it as a movie and know that, like, there's still an Avengers and we're not going to be in this, like, really disgusting war forever, I like it more. Yeah. But the first time I saw it, I was not a huge fan because it was like, what's gonna
I
happen?
loved that. I'm so opposite. I think the first time I saw it, I liked it the most. Where I was like, "Hey, this is great."
Oh yeah, I think the first time we watched this, I like screamed in the theater when Giant Man showed up. I was like, "Oh!"
Andre, I love going to the movies with Andre, and I miss all these Marvel movies being out in the theater because I just love watching his face every time. So whenever these next Marvel movies come out, it's gonna be a good time.
Yep.
I'm also gonna give this movie a 9. Infinity War is my 10. All day, every day. Infinity is my top. This one is just so dang good in that it sets up everything. We just talked about this in Age of Ultron, and I feel like I gave it a 9 for the exact same reason. It sets up everything, but that was like a phase 2 setup, and this is a phase 3 setup.
Word.
You know what I mean? They both serve their purpose in a really amazing way. It's just really good. I just like it. So 9.
I have a question before, actually, Luis, go on to yours real fast, and then I'll ask my question.
No, he did his. He gave it a 9.
Yeah, he gave it a 9.
Oh, you're right.
Because it was fun.
You're right. Because it was fun.
Go ahead.
Okay, so who do we add that fights as a major character in Infinity War one more time between now and then? Thor?
Captain Marvel?
Well,
No,
Well,
she's not in
Thor-
Infinity War. She's in Endgame.
So Thor and the Hulk
They
show
come
up.
back in Ragnarok.
But she does have her own movie in between now and then, doesn't she?
No, it's in
not
between
Doctor.
Infinity War and Endgame.
Yeah, her movie is out.
You're right.
And then
Is Wasp
Doctor
in?
Strange.
No. Doctor Strange,
Doctor
yeah.
Strange,
Black Panther and
then
Spider-Man.
and the Guardians.
Guardians.
Because none of the Guardians
Okay.
have met any of the Avengers since.
You're right. Okay, so without the Guardians, because they're not Earthlings, so they don't care about the Sokovia Accords, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're whatever.
Yeah.
Where do you think? Well, I guess the same would be for Thor then too. Would he have to sign?
Thor would never sign.
I mean, how could they?
Okay, but my question was going to be, where do you think people would be on the spectrum of signing or not signing? But then I'm thinking, like, obviously, Thor is not going to sign.
Thor's
because
a
he's
god.
not
He's just
of
going to
Earth,
dip out. Banner
right?
would sign.
I feel like he would sign.
Oh,
Banner would
absolutely, Banner would
Banner
sign.
would sign.
But I mean, if the Hulk shows up and goes to do some stuff, that's not necessarily Banner's
it's not
fault.
his fault. But the Hulk wouldn't sign. But Banner would sign.
Hulk no sign.
Hulk no sign. Hulk no sign. Black Panther.
Stupid paper.
He's a toss-up. I kind of feel like he's like Black Widow, where he's kind of in between. You know what I mean?
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange, I think he would not sign.
I don't think.
And then
Yeah.
I also think if we're including Captain Marvel in this, like, she would not sign either. But she's kind of off doing her own thing. You know what I mean? But Doctor
she
Strange,
can fly,
no.
so she could just do her.
Yeah, but
I don't think Doctor Strange would sign either. No.
I don't think so either.
And then
what do you think?
Thor.
Thor's a god. It doesn't matter. Like, he's not going to sign no earthly
If you
thing.
have a work visa, like, what's
Right.
his deal?
He pops in when he pleases. No regards.
Is he
to
an
law.
illegal alien?
But I mean, in terms of like the UN and the government, like, what are they going to require of Thor or whatever? Like, they're going to say you have to sign, and he's going to be like,
He's going to be like, I'm a god.
by my hammer, I ain't gonna sign. Whatever.
Yeah, like,
I'm leaving. Bye.
especially at this point in time, Thor is still really cocky right now, like
Right.
real cocky. After Ragnarok is when he starts where I'm like, ooh, I like this Thor. I mean, I love Thor in general, but Thor would never. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
All right. So we'd have Doctor Strange on the side of Wanda and on the
Mhm.
side of Cap.
Cap.
We'd
Uh-huh.
have
Hulk on
Hulk,
the side of Tony,
Tony.
probably.
Tony, and then Black Panther had already chosen his side though,
Right.
because he was fighting with Iron Man.
He did, but then he kind of didn't care after, and also he's a Wakandan.
No, but I'm just
so-
saying, like, had they been there on the, well, you're right for the Accords piece of it.
Yeah.
But can you imagine having Doctor Strange fighting with Wanda? You realize they were never in a scene together fighting,
yeah,
right?
man.
Oh my God. Can you imagine? It'd be just like sorcery.
Everything
Breaking down
Doctor
time
Strange
and
does
reality.
in Infinity War is. Every time I rewatch Infinity War, I'm like, Doctor Strange is where it's at. And every time I saw him in California Adventure, I would run after him like a little schoolgirl. Like,
She did.
Doctor Strange, he's so cool. He can do whatever that magic does.
Goodness gracious.
I feel like they underutilized her on purpose because if they had used her to her full potential, there would have been no movie. Like,
Oh, Wanda?
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Correct.
Wanda's
It would've been
insane.
like-
That's why I can't wait for WandaVision.
Yeah, I'm really
I
excited.
hope they
It's
really
like,
look at
Nice
Wanda.
try.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm very excited to see
Nice
what
try,
they
everybody.
do with her going forward.
Sorry, guys. I know Dougie's being Mr. Guard Dog over here.
he's
So, last year on our Summer of Heroes, we did Infinity War. So this year for Summer of Heroes, we decided to end it out on Endgame. So if you need to go rewatch Infinity War and re-listen to that episode, go ahead and do it. Better get a head start because y'all know these movies are 3 hours and like 20 minutes long.
Yeah.
So
This one's pretty
Takes y'all a
long.
week to finish it.
in a battle of Infinity War versus Endgame, I still really, really, really enjoy Infinity War. But I've seen Infinity War probably like 8 to 10 times now, and I've only seen Endgame twice. Once in the theater, once at home. So I'm
think I've seen
really
it twice.
excited. Well, how many times did we see it in the theater, though?
I think,
Infinity War, we saw a ton in the theater.
I think Endgame we saw at least twice.
Twice in the theater. So maybe I've seen it like 3 times. Infinity War, we saw like 4 or 5 times in the theater. We were crazy. So I'm really
Oh,
excited to
Infinity
rewatch this.
It brings in all my favorites. So then you're getting the Guardians up in the mix. Oh my god.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So good.
It's gonna be fun. Yeah. So
And Ant-Man, we're gonna appreciate him so much more in this movie upon this watching because that
I
was
might just watch Ant-Man and the Wasp again with Louis in between
Yeah.
because that just really puts you
Yeah.
over the edge.
I kind
yeah.
of want to watch it again
I
too.
kind of want to watch it again
I wanna
too,
watch a
and
lot
then
of Marvel.
I also kind of want to watch Infinity War again,
All of
although I
them.
have that movie memorized, so it doesn't really matter. But just I remember Endgame was where I thought Ant-Man was cool finally, so I'm like really excited to be like, "Woo, Ant-Man!" So let us know if you guys are excited. Also, we wanted to say a big thank you.
Yes, our first merch store campaign has ended on bonfire.com. So if you went and got a shirt, thank you so much. We very much appreciate it. Those should be shipping out
Hopefully by the 4th of July.
towards the end of this week, I believe, and you should be getting them around a week later. After that, if you didn't get a chance to buy a shirt, our store is still available online. You can go there. If you buy a shirt, it'll start a new campaign, so yours will come a few weeks down the line. That's the way that their system works over at Bonfire. We appreciate it. I can't wait for mine to come in. We'll be wearing them on the show in the future. What else? Was there something else?
And with that being said, because at least in California, shelter in place is getting lightened, we are planning on going back to our normal in-person recording, which is really nice for us because as much as we like talking into the computer, I know the sound isn't that great for our lovely listeners, and we like to be able to see each other like more in person and be in our pajamas when we record.
I'm in my pajamas right now.
Yeah, I'm in my
Y'all,
pajamas.
I've been keeping it real since day one up in here on the video.
I have been faking since day one on the video.
Yes, you
okay?
have. Yes, you have.
But with that being said, next week we have decided that we will record it. We will record our first in-person video, record it back. And we'll have the podcast where we all sound much more beautiful.
Yeah.
And we'll have both available for you so that you can see us one last time.
Can view, yes.
And
So
on special
let us know if you're loving the video. We can look into keeping it for the future. If you don't care, let us know too, because we want to know how many are watching versus just listening. And you can check us out on the tubes, on the YouTubes.
On the tube.
Either way.
And then in our next episode, we'll announce our next couple months of summer, which we have some very exciting things planned.
Yes, we've got some newer, or not newer, but different Disney
Maybe
movies.
newer.
Different,
We don't know.
Yes, different Disney movies lined up.
I can't
for you.
remember, so I'm just excited.
Exactly. They're written down somewhere, hopefully. So thank you guys so much. If you want to keep in touch with us, in the meantime, head over to @TheWaltVaultPod or on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. Go there. Let us know what you thought of the episode, what you thought of Captain America Civil War. What's your rating? If you're excited for our in-game episode. If you want to go back and listen to our Infinity War episode, that was episode 75. Back on the
It doesn't sound that long ago.
archive.
But
Yeah.
But it was a year ago.
Almost 30 episodes ago. Ay, caramba. yes, go there, do all of that. Support us. Hit subscribe on whatever podcast platform you're listening on. Hit follow, leave a review. You can support us monetarily by going to patreon.com/thewaltvault. Get some extra content for only $1. And you can send an email to contact@thewaltvaultpod.com. Check us out on all those places. Also, a side note, I, as an individual, have started a new podcast called Andre Knows Everything.
Andre knows everything.
That's going to be the new theme song. So go subscribe to my YouTube channel at Andre Morton.
Andre knows everything.
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 Yeah, where I
Can we harmonize your everything, please?
Andre knows.
No, wait for us to jump in. No, okay. Thank you. Yes, so watch me learn about a new thing on the internet every week. It's not for kids. Don't let your kids around when you're listening to it. Check me out. And that's going to be it for this week, you guys. We will join you next week for some Avengers Endgame goodness. We'll all be in the same place. It's going to be great. I'm excited. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you much.
Thank you much. That's been it for this time. The vault is now closed.